So I'm in my kitchen garden and I'm going to just talk a little bit about vegetable production today. I've produced a tilth, as you can see, and I've put a line across the area and I'm going to plant to that line. Now today I'm going to be planting radish seeds. Radish seeds are quite small and the radishes only need to be, as a consequence, quite shallow. They only need to be about 1 centimetre down into the soil, and the spacings of radishes, again, because they're quite small, only need to be about 2 inch apart, so that's 50 mm to separate them. It's quite tricky to actually thinly put the radishes in the preformed trench, but I'll try and take you through the process as I'm going through it. So you can see I've already forked the area through and raked it to a tilth. I've put a board down to work off and I've put a line up. You could actually work to the outer edge of the board if you wanted to, but I tend to use an onion hoe, so I'm going to do that. So because I'm only going about 1 centimetre down, what I do is, using the onion hoe, just the triangle there, look, I'm just going to get a little furrow along my line. Trying not to move my line offline. It makes it a lot easier to maintain. As I said, you can work off the edge of your board if you want. Got a bit of hard ground there that I missed when I was doing my tilth preparation. But like I say, I only need 1 centimetre depth, just under 1/2 inch with these seeds. Don't forget, the rule of thumb with seeds is we plant them to about twice the diameter of the seed. So a large seed might go down 2 or 3 inches, and a small seed, a very small seed, you might just throw on top. These are a couple of mil, 2 or 3 mil. So I'll be putting them just about 1 centimetre down. So I've made my furrow, if you like, and these seeds, are radish. I'm going to try and put those at about 50 mil centres. It's not going to be very easy, as you'll see. And so we'll see what we can do. Oh, there's quite a few together there, but I can thin those out as they begin to grow. It's not the end of the world. Just a few more. Not too shabby. We'll go with that. Okay. Once we've put the seeds at approximately the correct spacing in the ground, I'm just going to cover them lightly over with a bit of very fine soil. We don't want them to be doing any heavy lifting, so we don't want any lumps on top of them. So basically all we're doing really is just pushing a bit of the soil that we fetched out earlier back over the top, just so they're just buried to 1 centimetre, like I said. Just going to crush up a few of those clods there. Get out a bit more. Okay. Now, it's important that you actually label that run. I'm just going to go and get a couple of canes and then I'm going to label the run so I remember what I've put in there. And I am slightly this side of my line where my trench was, or my furrow was. So I'm just going to put a stick in there. And a stick in there. Slightly this side of my line. Then I can remove my line. Put that over there out of the way. Okay, the next thing I need to do is probably label, but I'll label when I've finished. But don't forget that if you've run out, if you've used the rest of the packet up, you can put the packet upside down on there. But or you might have a plan of your allotment. But just for now, so as I don't forget, I've just took a little bit off there. I'll just put that there so I know that they're radishes until I get a chance to put a proper label in. I'll put the seeds there. Next thing, using a watering can with a fine rose, I'm going to water that trench. You can water the trench before you put the seeds in, or you can water the trench after. If you're watering after, you don't want to be doing that if it's on silty ground. If you've got silty ground, you could get a cap. And also I'd use a rose, because if you have got any seeds close to the surface, you'll be washing them all into one place if you don't use a rose. Got a bit left, so I'm just going to water the beetroot that I put in. Give them a bit of a drink. If I put in beetroot in and directly sow in, I'd plant them slightly deeper. I'd probably plant them to a full inch. So that's 2.5 centimetres or 25 mil. And the spacings would be slightly further apart. They'd be about 4 inch or 100 mil apart. But the principle is pretty much the same, except obviously you've got to look at the diameter of the seed and decide how close you're putting these together and how deep your furrow needs to be. And that's pretty much that. They'll start to show within the next 2 weeks. They'll be easy for me to see where they are because I've put the line up, and I should be able to maintain them. If I've got too many coming up in one place, I'll just thin them out. So I'm going to show you a few more things that I've got going off in my kitchen garden at the moment. These are my runner beans. They're about 4 weeks old from seedling at the moment. They're in the pots that I originally sowed them in. I just put 1 per pot. I've got 5, which is plenty. I'll show you my bean row in a little while. It's not a big one, and there's only me and Shell now at home, so that's plenty. In my little cold frame, I've got some, I think they're Brussels sprout spares and some beetroot spares, and I've got a couple of butternut squash there and a tomato. And did I mention nasturtiums? I've got nasturtiums. I get those for free, and I'll explain why in a minute. I'm also growing a mixed bag of cut and come again lettuce there, and a few there as well. And indeed, I've got my older crop there that are about blown now, but got that. In my kitchen garden, I've got some Brussels sprouts. That's approximately 550 centimetre centres. That's where I put the row of radishes just now. But the other side of there, I've got a row of beetroot that I grew in vaca packs and planted out last week. They're looking quite healthy. Again, I've got a few more Brussels sprouts down there. These are again, it's about 2 foot. I've also got a good crop of self-set nasturtiums. I planted nasturtiums because my my bean row is going to go there, and the nasturtiums are actually a companion plant for the black bean aphid. The black bean aphid, rather than living on my beans, prefer to live on the nasturtiums, so I don't get I don't get my crop attacked by them. So they're a bit sacrificial really, but they do look quite pretty in the margin, and I can dig a few up and put them elsewhere in the garden. They do trail and form quite nice plants. That little pot there is where I'm going to put my two butternut squash plants, or perhaps one of them there and one of them there. I've not decided yet. Got a bit of groundsel there I still need to deal with.